We are back and we are customizing things right now. And so I encourage you to basically play around with the things that we've explored already. And some of these things in the footer, you may decide that you want to do widgets. I don't tend to do a lot of widgets down in the footer, but you can decide how wide you want those widgets to be. You can decide if your background color is down there. You can put your own custom copyright message down the bottom. Just all kinds of just random. None of this stuff is crucial, but it's all things that you can play with, and it's there for you. Responsive. This is one of those things where you may want to tweak. You probably want to set it to responsive by default, which is what it is. But you can also choose. This is basically what they call the breakpoint, and you can decide at what point does this thing switch over to being a mobile site versus a desktop site. And at what point do you get that other menu? And so as you resize the page, when do you want all of your menus and stuff to jump around and all that? So you can do that. You can have a separate logo just for mobile, and all that stuff is in here. SEO, as you develop your site, especially if it's a blog or something that you want to do some tracking with, you may want to go to Google Analytics. And basically, if you sign up for Google Analytics, they're going to give you a code. And this is where you would paste that so that you're able to track your activity on your site. Same thing if you want to use Google Remarketing or Facebook Pixel. Ooh, Facebook Pixel. So this meta description is another thing that gets hidden in here, and so a lot of times I like to update this one and just say welcome. Things like that, just putting your own meta description in on the website, putting your own keywords. If you have an image, this open graph image is when your stuff is shared on Facebook. What do you want that to look like? So you may decide that you want to put your own custom image here. I'm going to save that change. All of that stuff is just worth thumbing through. This social thing is kind of great. Like if you just, I'll just do facebook.com. Actually, I'm going to do google.com just to be funny. So anyway, if you were to come in there and add that social link, I should show you. There's a whole bunch of them in here. And what's kind of neat about it is if they're not filled in, then they don't do anything. But if they're filled in, they'll show up in your social, your little social icons. You can also add a custom one where you put your own logo and your own link down here. And so as you save that, then when you come to your page, now I may not have them displaying right now. I think I do. Let's see here. So these are not those actually. These are built in from somewhere else. But those icons, yeah, they're going to show down here. So this is going to link to Google, this is going to link to Google, and this is going to link to Google. So all of these icons will automatically show up in your footer. Now, another thing just regarding the copyright message. So this whole muffin group thing, they're the people who made the template. So what you can do is if you put a custom copyright message down there, I think it's under footer, right? If you put your own copyright message there, then you can just get rid of that. And I think, let's see here, let's try this. Yeah, so you can and there is a way to show the year dynamically so that the year will automatically update. And I may show you that in another video, but you'll see that now my copyright message is there and there's no backlink to BeTheme, so that's kind of nice. Let's look at a few more things. We did social add-ons and plugins. You're pretty much not going to use if you want. There are a few things in here, but I basically never use them. This is where it gets kind of interesting for you guys. The first thing I want to show you is we're going to go down to the bottom here. You can back up. Let me see here. Export options. You can back up all of your options for the theme. So if you want to, before you mess around with too much stuff, especially when you start getting into messing around with these down here, you may want to back up these settings, and then if you have a problem with it, you can import them, or you can even restore to default. And the reason why I say that is as you get in here to the colors, it's really easy to kind of mess things up. So there are these skins on the thing, and you can also do this. This is kind of neat. Like if you just like a certain color, you can come in here and pick that certain color as sort of just a very quick way to make a new theme for your site. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to jack anything up, but you can, and this will affect all of your different colors and stuff like that. You can also select a background color and a content background color. And what's neat about this is that you can do this for every aspect of your site. So you can come in here and you can set, this is more, so this would make a new one site wide, but this is all what's already been designed. So when we imported that thing with all the balloons, it gave us all these colors and pre-handled them for us. But if you decide like, hey, I want this, I don't like this is too light, the action button, well, we know what the action button is, so it's perfect. So if I want the action button to be darker, then I can just drag this down here and save it, and then you'll see that when we refresh the page, that action button is going to get darker. And so you have the ability to start with their existing color scheme and then tweak it to your liking, which is kind of nice. And so let's say I probably need that to be lighter again, so I'm going to save that. And you can come through every single one of these things, your menus and your action bar and all that stuff, and start customizing the colors and all that to your liking. And you'll notice that this headings thing is another one that's kind of interesting. Some people want all of their headlines on their website to be a different color. So let's just say, we're going to do this right here. Let's say if you want your headlines to be red, then anytime something is wrapped in an H1 tag, it will show up as red on your site. One of the things that I found in any type of coding, not just web developing, is that saving your work actually makes things go a lot better, because you can do something and not save it and it won't actually have an effect. So now if I refresh, this is a headline is red. So if you decide that you want all of your headlines to be red, in fact here this was already a headline, if you want this stuff to be red on your entire site, then you can do that. And so we're going to edit that post and we're going to get rid of that this is a headline, and we're going to update, because saving is important, boys and girls. And then we're going to come back to our theme options. And what you can do also, like let's say if I want to get this color back, I can come over here and I can just copy this and paste it here. Oops. I'm struggling here, guys. Let's try that and that. Come on. Let's see what happens. There we go. Okay, we're saved. Man, that was painful for you guys to watch, I'm sure. So that is your colors, and you can tweak those. Same thing with the fonts. You can decide that I want all my content to be this font, and I want my headlines, the big headlines, to be this font, and my small headlines to be this font. Now the trick with these is that these are all Google fonts, and so you can decide how heavy you want to have the options. You can also come in here. So if I were to Google Google Fonts Montera set, then I'm going to get this, and this is going to give me an example of what all of these look like, what all these weights, what all these things look like. And I could do the same thing as I come through here. I could just pick a different font, and you would just Google, I'm going to do it off screen, Google Fonts Miss Fajardos. And you'll see when I drag that in, you get a completely unreadable font. So you have the option of changing these fonts to being whatever you want. And you can also browse Google Fonts. And so because they're all here, it might make sense for you to just browse it on Google and then come back here and decide what fonts you want. So that is there. Let me save this just to make sure I didn't make any changes. Along with the font size and style, if you find out that any particular, if you want to make the content on your site bigger, if you want to bring the lines closer together, if you want to make it bolder, if you want to change your letter spacing, all of that stuff can be done right in here. You can also add some custom fonts in and install those just by downloading the TTF files or the WOFF files. Translate. I don't do a lot with multi-language on WordPress, but if you are writing the site in another language, you can come in here and change all those things to your languages. And same thing with these. Some custom JSS, if you decide that you want to add custom classes or custom IDs or things like that to your WordPress, you can do that right in here. Same thing with custom JavaScript. So that is a good overview of all the different things you can customize. And that's one of the things that I love about this theme, is that all this stuff is pulled in one place. You don't need to go in and hack. You don't need to mess around editing PHP files. You can come in and simply use their settings to change nearly everything about the site. And so I hope you're enjoying this, and we're going to go on to the next video and talk about some menus.